the children are at.
Now you're standing as VP of the Green Party, and I've received the occasional message. I think it's certainly not in plurality, but there's an occasional message I receive from Muslims in America and elsewhere, which suggests that, in a sense, what by joining the Green Party and by fighting within the political process, you're somewhat diluting that radical tradition because it's a secular, it's a corrupt political process, and it's better to fight from outside than join it. Fine, you're not joining it by by embracing it, but you're joining it by fighting this election. I mean, how would you respond to accusations that somehow you're watering down your radicalism?
Yeah, I mean, it's a wonderful question. So was Malcolm watering down his radicalism when he created the Organization for Afro-American Unity, an explicitly political organization? No, he was not. Was Huey P. Newton, founder of the Black Panthers, watering down his radicalism when he ran for elected office, not once but twice? Was Huey P. Newton some kind of sellout? Was Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael, a sellout when he advocated for organizing? What Kwame Ture said, and by the way, people don't know that Stokely Carmichael, Kwame Ture, was a direct student of Malcolm X. Malcolm said, "We are not outnumbered, we are out-organized." Malcolm argued explicitly for political organization as the basis of empowerment for Black people, for Muslims, for all colonized people. And he was a supporter of those political movements that embodied that. So what Stokely Carmichael did with this, with Malcolm's insights about organizing, he said, people usually mobilize around issues, but revolutionaries organize against systems. Let me repeat that. People usually mobilize around issues. Revolutionaries organize against systems. So as a historian myself, it is plain that successful modern revolutions always contain a kernel of political party organizing within them. And the reason is that no party is bigger than the movement. The movement is bigger than any party, but political parties allow movement energy to be galvanized towards organizational and institutional expression. It allows you to leverage power. And you mentioned in the introduction that the first time I got on social media, is true. I didn't have a social media account before George Floyd was murdered. So the 140 whatever thousand followers on Instagram, that's all since, since 2020. Well, what happened in 2020? There was a mobilization around an issue and it swept the whole globe, but no organizing against the system. So then what happened? The system responded to the fact that this was a moment and not a movement by more repression than before. So police have killed more people in every subsequent year, 2021, 2022, 2023, now 2024, they kill more people every year. And now the cops that used to just beat up people like me, and by the way, I was stopped for driving while Black, never ticketed, 17 times before I reached my 18th birthday. An officer drew his service weapon and pointed it at my face on 36th and 10th on the south side of Minneapolis, a few blocks away from where George Floyd would eventually be choked a couple decades later. So I know the carceral state uphand on my own flesh. And the reality is that people did not organize against the system. So now the brutality that used to be exercised just against people like me is now being extended to middle-class kids on college campuses, right? Because this police state is now defending the imperial fascists abroad with imperial fascism at home. So what do we think is going to happen as Muslims in this moment where Gaza has people on fire, if we do not have an organizational, institutional structure for our resistance? When these white liberals stop seeing babies blown up on their phones, do you think that they're going to be interested in divesting from the apartheid state or Palestinian liberation? No. So we need to, in this moment, organize for maximal political power. And that means, yes, you take electoral avenues, but it also means that you do not foreclose on non-electoral avenues, such as direct action, boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning. And of course, as is plain, I have made it plain. I said this in an interview on Middle East Eye. We